Good morning, boys and girls. We're going to continue math with doing some problem solving together today. We're going to read this problem together and do some practice together. Then when I finish with practicing with you, you'll go and get your practice math book and I will tell you the page numbers that you are going to complete on your own when we're finished. So let's start with this. Just like we would in class, we have a problem up here on the board. And we're going to read it together. Then we're going to read it again to make sure we understand the problem. Then we're going to look at what important pieces of information are there. So first, let's read this together. It says, there are 3 orange jars of paint and 5 pink jars of paint. How many jars of paint are there? So let's read that again. There are 3 orange jars of paint and 5 pink jars of paint. How many jars of paint are there? Now I want you to stop and think in your head for a minute, what are the important pieces of information that I need? So let's look at this. I'm going to try to make this work as well as possible. I realize it's a little bit hard to see. Let's think about the first important part of the information that we're given. It says that there are 3 orange jars of paint. So I think the first part is the 3 orange jars of paint. Okay, the next one, did you guys see that? 3 orange jars of paint, that's an important one. Then the next one is, see if you can say it as I say it, there are 5 pink jars of paint. 5 pink jars of paint. Those are 2 important pieces of information. But there's another important part too. We know there are 3 orange jars of paint. I'll try to make this so you can see it a little bit better. And there are 5 orange jars of paint. And what's the last important piece of information we need? The question, right? What are they asking us to find out? They're asking us, how many jars of paint are there? So let's look at a couple different ways that maybe we could solve that. And before I show you mine, I want you to pause the video and I want you to think about this, the important information. 3 orange jars of paint, 5 pink jars of paint. How many jars of paint are there? So pause the video now and think about how you would solve this problem. Okay, so hopefully you've had some time to try to think of some ways to solve this. One way that Mrs. McCrovitz thought about this problem was to use a 10 frame, and I know that some of you probably don't have these excuse me, things at home, but I used a 10 frame and I did 1, 2, 3 red dots for the 3 orange jars of paint, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yellow dots for the 5 pink jars of paint. Now, some of you may not even have counters or different things at home. You can use anything that you have. For example, I just took some paper and tore it up, and I have 1, 2, 3 pieces of paper here. Let's see, maybe I could use this to show you a little bit. Okay, so here's my 3 pieces of paper. Those are hard to see. But then I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more pieces of paper. So I just ripped up some paper that I had laying around the house to figure this out. So I had 3 pieces of paper and 5 more. The question was asking me how many jars of paint are there all together. So I'm going to count my pieces of paper. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of paper. So I know how many jars of paint are there? 8. That was one way that you could do it. You could use items to count at your house to show 3 jars and then 5 jars. Remember that adding is putting them all together to find out there are 8. Another way I did it is on my paper up here is I just drew some circles, some dots. I drew 1, 2, 3 dots and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more to find out how many jars of paint are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did anybody do it that way? Some of you may have even just done it as a number sentence and wrote 3 plus 5 equals 8. All of these are great ways, and I'm sure that there are some other ways we could solve this problem as well that I didn't even think of, or maybe you didn't even think of. These are all different ways that we can use our tools and our knowledge to help us solve these math problems. We're going to try one more problem together today, and then I'm going to send you off on your own to see if you can apply what we've learned here to the pages in your math book. So let's get ready here for a second problem, and we'll see what the important information is by first making sure we understand the problem. Okay, so here's our second problem. A set of paint has 18 colors. 8 colors are used. How many are left? The first thing we need to ask ourselves is, do we understand the problem? So we'll do that by picking out the important parts of information. A set of paints has 18 colors. 8 colors are used. How many are left? So think for a minute, pause the video, and think about the important parts of information. And Mrs. McCrovitz will do the same. Okay, so the important things I thought about are that there are 18 colors, 8 colors are used, and the question here is a little bit different than we've had. It's asking us how many are left. So if I start with 18, I know that 8 are used. The problem's asking me how many are left. In this problem, we are taking away. So I know this will be some type of subtraction I'm going to do. I want you to pause the video again, and on your own, either draw on a piece of paper or use ripped up pieces of paper. I want you to think about how you would solve this problem. And then in a moment when you restart, we'll review together. Okay, so one way that I thought about accomplishing this problem is first I just drew on my paper. I drew 18 circles for the 18 colored paints. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I thought of it that way. There's 18 paints. I knew that 8 colors were used, so then I crossed out 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I knew 8 were used. Then how many are left? So the ones I didn't cross out are the ones that are left. So let's count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many are left? 10 are left. So 10 paints are left. That's the number 10. Another way I thought about doing this is using my 10 frames to show that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so there's 10, but I also have 18, so I need 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This shows there are 18 paints. We know that 8 of them are used, so I'm going to take away 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And how many paints are left? 10. Another way that you could do this, boys and girls, is to write the number sentence and just have 18 minus 8 equals 10. So hopefully you use some of these ways. Also, you could use things like ripped up pieces of paper, goldfish, fruit snacks, paper clips, anything that you could use to help you count and solve these problems. So that's our math lesson for today. I want you to go to your practice and problem solving math book, and you're going to complete pages 189 to 190 today on your own. I hope that this was helpful, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys all tomorrow.